Hey everyone, it's me, John Lorden, and I'm here with a GeekendorX Review. Thought I'd kick this one off with a little bad impression of Doc Brown. I am fighting a cold like crazy. I'm actually supposed to film something later tonight, and I'm trying to rest up, but you guys need your GeekendorX Review of Ant-Man, so here we are. Now, just to start off with, I am not a big fan of Ant-Man, really don't know anything about that property. Now I do since seeing the movie, but I don't know it from comics at all. And I'm very happy to report that this movie feels quite a bit different from some of the other Marvel Universe movies. And I think we're seeing little examples of that, like, Thor, the Thor universe is kind of its own type of movie. Captain America is becoming more of an action, USA espionage type of movie. Even Iron Man 3 was actually kind of more of like a super spy, James Bond type movie. But this one is fun because it has this element of somewhat being lighthearted, but it almost feels like a retro superhero movie, like something that we would have seen in the 1990s. I've heard a couple of people make comparisons to The Rocketeer, which I totally agree with. I gotta say, I've never been that big of a fan of Michael Douglas. I think the last movie that I really enjoyed him in was probably Jewel of the Nile. There's just something about the types of roles that he plays that I always feel like he's a bad guy, and I just really haven't enjoyed him all that much. That has completely changed with Ant-Man. He is an amazing talent that really keeps you hooked into this story. All of the core emotion and driving factor about what Ant-Man is, why it exists, the dangers of being Ant-Man are resonated very strongly through his character. He really does an excellent job. Paul Rudd really surprised me. He did a great job in this role, and I didn't think that he was necessarily that type of actor that could pull off being a superhero, even if it is a little tongue-in-cheek and kind of has, occasional one-liners. But he did. I was really worried that it was going to feel like he was in one of his usual raunchy comedies or like a Judd Apatow movie or something like that, and he totally kept away from that. He plays it's very realistic, and you really kind of empathize with him in terms of him being a father and not being able to see his daughter. It's very, very cool. Also, Evangeline Lilly does a great job as Hope Van Dyne, who is the daughter of the Michael Douglas character, and originally when she was on screen, I kind of had an adverse reaction to her character because it's just such an overused character type. It reminds me of the Bryce Dallas Howard character from Jurassic World. It's just the career woman that's kind of bitchy, and she's very strong, but she seems emotionally disconnected. And luckily, as the story goes on, her character evolves beyond that. But just know, initially, when you see her come on screen, you might have a little bit of a reaction to her character feeling. It didn't feel very genuine. It wasn't very layered until later on in the story, and then it gets very layered. Which was great. And even though I had that reaction to the character, her acting job with the character was very good, very strong the whole time. Also, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Corey Stoll, who I really don't know his work too much, but he plays the villain in this Darren Cross. And I gotta say, pretty much from the first time he was on screen all the way through the finale, I was sitting there just banging my head going, why the hell did someone not cast this guy as Lex Luthor? I don't know about you guys, but the clips that I've seen from Superman, Batman, Dawn of Justice, I am really not impressed with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. It seems to me like he's trying to play the Joker for some reason, and that's not resonating with me in terms of being a good interpretation of Lex Luthor. This Darren Cross character felt like Lex Luthor, looked like Lex Luthor. He's got a pretty good build on him, which if you've seen some of the cartoons, they usually represent Lex Luthor as being a little muscular. So it was really, I was just wishing the whole time that some kind of miracle could happen in the movie universe that could pull Corey Stoll out of that role in Ant-Man and plop him into the Superman movie, because, man, I would love to see him in the role of Lex Luthor, but obviously that's not going to happen. That being said, he does a very good job with the villain here. The way the villain is constructed does seem a little familiar. It seems like something you might have seen before in previous superhero movies, but I think it's totally workable for Ant-Man. It is worth noting the first half felt a little bit slow, just kind of like things were being set up and they were kind of taking a little long to do that, but almost like a roller coaster. You feel like you're clicking up, and then once the movie really hits its peak and starts moving, you're just in for the ride the whole time. Special effects are really, really good. As a matter of fact, I just commented last week on Terminator Genesis and the reverse aging that they did for Arnold Schwarzenegger shots. I gotta say, that has been beat hands down by the reverse aging that they do on Michael Douglas. It looked like they hopped in a time machine, went back to the 80s and shot footage with him back there. It was really impressive. I've never seen reverse aging done that well. Super, super impressive. Which was strange because there was co-stars that were in that scene with him, and it looks like they reverse aged them, and it just didn't work as well for some reason. But the Michael Douglas reverse aging, top notch. All the special effects in terms of Ant-Man scaling down for his environments and his environments being big around him, awesome. Almost reminds you of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in terms of the content of this happening, but the effects are so much better. I mean, just really, really top notch. Overall, I gotta say, IMDb is rating it at a 7.9 out of 10. I was somewhere between 7.5 and 8 points, so that puts us right in line. And I do suggest that you honestly see this on the big screen, and I don't do that very often. I think there's a lot of movies that you could just see on your big screen at home. But this one in particular, with the special effects and all the detail that they have going on in the background, and the finale. This is really the type of finale you want to see in a big screen format. I was fortunate enough to see this at Downtown Disney, and I was at a conference called VidCon, and I heard from an audience that kind of did an informal poll. Do you think Ant-Man is better than the Avengers 2? And the audience was very strong that they thought that Ant-Man was better. And I can tell you they're two very different types of movies, although they do really cool crossover of Ant-Man into the Avengers universe, and I am almost certain that we're going to see him pop up possibly in Captain America 3, but I'm figuring it's pretty certain that he's going to be in the next Avengers movie. And with how good it's been doing for the past couple of weeks, I think there's a very good chance that we will see a standalone sequel for Ant-Man. So if you're looking for a superhero fix, I highly recommend it. You will enjoy this movie. One last note, there is some issue with the directing. They kind of changed directors early on in the project, and some of the scenes do feel like they were made by one person and then another director kind of came in to finish it. Some of the timing between some of the scenes it shifts tempo and pace a little bit. Whoa, focus. So just a little note about the directing, but unless you really look for things like that, you probably won't even notice it. Just go in, grab a tub of popcorn, have a giant icy, and enjoy the heck out of Ant-Man like I did. I hope you're all having a great week. I'm going to try to fight off this cold and get to my shoot tonight, and I will be back later this week with brain scratch updates on Kendrick Johnson, Sandra Bland, and possibly a third one. So I will see you later in the week. Take care.